Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are on part 4 of 4 for our division previews, and we got the one with your team in it, the San Jose Sharks in the Pacific today. I know we also have quite a few Calgary Flames listeners since we are based out of Calgary, so we'll be covering them today. This is going to be a good one. Do you have anything you want to talk about before we get into it?
Well, yeah, a lot of obviously, yeah, my favorite team, San Jose. That's why it's the first time I'm wearing this hat. While now that we're doing video, because I figure it's the perfect time to bump it out. Yeah, you mentioned we got a lot of Flames
It's a
listeners.
great
I
hat.
know we probably got at least one Edmonton listener because we can, we can see all the analytics, and we obviously know that there's one diehard fan up in that area that's, you know, always listening. So maybe they're an Edmonton fan, and they're definitely probably waiting on this one. But yeah, we got the Pacific Division.
Shout out Edmonton.
Probably the most, I think, just kind of, I almost kind of want to say unpredictable division, potentially, just in the sense that there's
Yeah.
a couple of teams that have just kind of been powerhouses for years, and quite a few teams that have been pushover teams. Kind of teams that are just, you kind of, and especially, them, all these teams being out on the West Coast Pacific, so they're always the late games, and that's sometimes it's the only game on. You're like, oh, I'll watch the late night game. You flip it on, and it's San Jose, Seattle, Anaheim, Vancouver, even sometimes Calgary, just getting throttled, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
what do I do here, right? So it's a weird division, but I'm excited to go over it. I think there's a lot to talk about with these teams, and I think we just dive right in.
Jump right into it.
Just jumping right in.
Continuing with the theme we've been going so far, we're going in order of the points that they had at the end of last season. So we will start with the team that won the Pacific last year, the Vegas Golden Knights.
The Vegas Golden Knights, yes. And if you haven't listened to the other ones, the way we do it, I'm just going to count down from 3, and we will give our prediction on where we think these teams will finish. And we'll talk about them a bit, and then some award predictions potentially for some of them, because I don't think every team, but
Yeah,
some of them
probably
for
not.
sure. But we'll get underway here with the Vegas Golden Knights in 3, 2, 1, first.
Second. Okay. You have them.
So
you have them first. I have them second.
I didn't want to just bust down the door early and be like, this is my one, but to me it makes the most sense. By far the biggest free agent acquisition in Mitch Marner, and losing Alex Pietrangelo hurts, but going back to what we were talking about last offseason, over the course of the season, Vegas still has a really good decor. And yeah, losing Pietrangelo hurts, but you have a lot of guys that can step up in that next man mentality. They can't do their antics because of the new, CBA rules coming in and the LTIR stuff. But Vegas is going to find a way to probably get some big addition in.
It sounds like they're looking at Rasmus Anderson. After signing Mitch Marner to $12 million a year. So I don't know how they do it, but they got the guys at work making moves with their money. So,
and honestly, outside of Mitch Marner, their second biggest addition is their 2028 first round pick. That is now in play. That is now they can move that. Teams are potentially going to be wanting that. So that's just another trade piece that they have, because they didn't really have much last year. They were kind of just working with the scraps that they had. That's why they couldn't really do much. But now they have another first round pick they can use. So that'll obviously be interesting. But again, they finished first last year. You bring in Mitch Marner. I mean, I wanted to put him a little bit lower just for fun, but realistically, it makes just a lot of sense for me.
Yeah. No, I think there's a very good chance they finish there. That's why I have them at number 2. I just think there's one other team that's going to be a bit better that I don't think we're going to have to wait too long to talk about here.
Well, San Jose's last team we talk about, so might be waiting a bit. No,
I would love nothing more than to predict San Jose being first like a madman, and then it actually happens.
Maybe next year. Maybe as early as next year.
Yeah.
I'm delusional, but I've earned the right to be.
What sports fan isn't about their own team,
Yeah,
right? That's kind
you know what?
of
Fair.
comes with the territory. Yeah, I mean, this team,
But Vegas, yeah.
A lot of people have been discounting them the last year, I think. Like the way they went out in the playoffs, people didn't think they were very impressive. Man, I'm looking at this team though, and this is still a great lineup. Like, I guess maybe if you don't believe in Aiden Hill or Akira Schmid, then it's a little bit of a thing. But Theodore, McNabb, Hannafin, Whitecloud, Lazon, Korzak, like that's a great top six and a phenomenal top four. And then Eichel, Marner, Dorofeyev came out of nowhere and was phenomenal last year.
There you go, guy.
Barbashev,
All of a
Hurdle,
sudden, out of nowhere.
Stone, like a third line of Sod, Carlson, and Smith is downright reliable. Like this, it's
Well,
a
and then
very solid team.
even that fourth line, Howden, Sissons, and Kolasar. That's just a in-your-face crash and bash, piss off the other team, make them take penalties. Like that's it's not. I don't want to say quite on the same level because of the. Well, actually, honestly, it almost kind of is because Sissons kind of fits the role of a Cizikas. It's very similar to what the Islanders rolled with their identity line of Matt Martin, Cal Clutterbuck, and Casey Cizikas. Just you go out there, you hit, you dump and chase, you wear the other team down, you get the occasional goal, and when you do, the whole team is just jacked up because you're the guys going through hell every game, regardless of who you're playing. They're the ones that are taking the biggest beatings and on their bodies and whatnot, and guys love that, and that just energizes the team, and that's honestly that's all you need in the fourth line. Look at Florida, even like teams are like wanting to get all these piece of like, oh, it's the perfect guy to put up a sneaky 15 goals on the fourth line. You don't need that. If you've got Eichel, Marner, Dorofeyev, Barbashev, Stone, Hurdle, Carlson, if you've got those guys put up the goals, your fourth line can just go out there and cause chaos, and the rest of the team will absolutely love it.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm a big fan of that fourth line, honestly.
Yeah, it's real good.
Aiden Hill one is interesting though that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people, talking about it, but at the same time, it's like everybody was, and bear in mind, Canada's goaltending situation is not the greatest, but people were clamoring and storming the streets, it felt like, for Hill to be on Canada for Four Nations last year. And, wait, actually, was he?
I think,
or maybe was it for
was he a
starting
backup?
goally?
I think for
Yeah,
starting
maybe
goalie.
it was
I think he
actually
was
out
a
for
backup.
starting goalie. Yeah.
But
Because,
at that time,
because him and Binnington had the two cups.
Yeah, I was gonna say because he had won the second most recent Stanley Cup at the time that the Four Nations happened. So it
He
made
was good
sense
in
that
that
people
playoff
wanted him
run.
there. He was very good. That's why he's getting paid $6.25 million now.
Like, is he the best goalie in this division? No. But is he good enough to win you a cup? Absolutely. I mean, what more does he have to do to prove that? He's done it before, and on top of that, he looked great doing it.
Back-to-back cup finals for a guy like Stuart Skinner and at times Pickard. Like, if he can get you there, Hill can absolutely get you there.
Yeah.
And it does sound,
overall,
for what it's worth,
I don't have
like
anything negative on him.
Yeah.
The
sounds
team.
like Vegas is one of the main contenders for Carter Hart. It sounds like they're one of the few teams that I'm not sure if they're interested in him or if he's interested in them, but they've been linked together for a couple of days now. So we'll see if that happens. Obviously, he can't be signed till, what was it, October 15th?
October 15th, and then can't play until
December 1st.
December 1st, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean that's an interesting one because Vegas, they're always, and again, say what you want about Vegas, but there's not a lot of loyalty there, right? If moving a player out that the fans love, the player loves, being there, teammates love him, if moving them out puts them in a position to win, they'll do it. They don't care about any of that stuff. That's just the reality of it. And whether you like it or not, I mean, hey, they won a cup doing it.
The players,
If
I think the players do not care about that either. It's crazy. I think a lot of fans are like, the players, and I think we've both done this at points, are like, the players are going to get sick of this shit. Nah, they're getting more and more popular as a free agent destination every year. Like they win and they have favorable tax situation, and
yeah,
that seemed to be the long and short of it for a lot of guys.
um, but basically what I was going to say is if Carter Hart does want to go to Vegas and Vegas wants him, if Carter Hart's willing to sign 2 years, 2 million per year, he comes in and looks good. Well, then you can ship out Aiden Hill and his cap hit somewhere else, and that opens up money to go grab some. Could be Erasmus Anderson if he's still available at the time. Could be something else like that. That would give Vegas some options. So that is a possibility that I could see. Because again, when I look at it, the forward core looks good. Obviously, up front there is always some concerns about health wise of some players. But if this team can stay healthy and whatnot, yeah, they're going to be a force again in this division. That again, I think we'll still have a couple pushover teams for a team as good as Vegas.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, I do wonder if something like that ends up happening. Obviously, they would, if they did sign Hart, they would wait to see, does he perform? Because he hasn't played professional hockey in 2 years. Like, but if
Yeah,
he
yeah,
is
he never
good,
went overseas like some of the other guys. He just didn't play.
yeah, I I would be very interested to see, like, if they start wanting to move Aiden Hill. I mean, the first team knocking at your door is very likely a team that you're facing in the playoffs in the Edmonton Oilers. Notoriously for multiple years now have needed that goalie. He's from the area, I believe he's from Calgary, right? Like he's
Yeah,
got a 10 team no trade list on his deal. Edmonton might be on that because they're in Canada, but if there's even a single Canadian team on that list, I I would be willing to bet that Edmonton's the one he would be willing to go to.
yeah, I would agree on that. Yeah,
And I
gives him a
mean,
good shot at another cup. He knows
teams
he'd be the guy.
facing yeah, like teams facing prior like old teammate, like what we saw with Rantanen last year. That's just absolute cinema in the playoffs. It's so fun to watch that, especially if it's a goalie like shutting out the team that traded you earlier in the year. That would be really
Yeah,
fun to watch.
it is pretty. Yeah, it is pretty cool seeing that stuff happen. Um, I think that's about it for me for Vegas. Honestly, all I can really say is
Yeah.
it is a very good team. They were a good team last year. They do go out in the second round. Um, Edmonton overall, I think, was not the better team overall, honestly. But in that series, I just thought they were the better team, and they had Vegas's number. Could Vegas won that series? Absolutely, yeah. But the matter is they didn't. They came up short,
Yeah.
and you pull off a big move and you bring in a guy like Mitch Marner, who you know I'm sure Toronto fans have their pieces to say about him on his playoff performance, but I think he's going to be a completely different guy in Vegas. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see that aspect of seeing Marner in the playoffs, not on the Toronto Maple Leafs. But you got any last thoughts on Vegas before we throw out some potential hardware?
No, I think we've said our piece. I think we're good to get on to the individual awards.
Individual awards. I mean, there's a couple you could throw out there. Um, Jack Eichel. I think there's potential Selke nod for him. Um,
That's what I
Mitch
wanted to bring
Marner,
up.
honestly, very well could potentially win the Art Ross in this
Who
situation because I
who do you
think
think's more likely to win the Selkie? Marner or Eichel?
Eichel. I
Okay.
think if you got two players that are on the same level, they'll go with the center.
Default to
Even
the
if
center.
Marner has more points, I think they still lean Eichel just because it just seems like it's very set on they go with centers and you kind of throw the wingers in there like in the third, fourth, fifth place folks to be like we don't want you to win, but we want to like put you in the conversation and kind of give
Yeah.
you your flowers, but we don't want you winning because you're not a center. Is kind of the way
Right.
that I view the way that the Selke
It does
goes.
feel like that for sure. Does Eichel
Like,
play on the penalty kill?
I believe so. As Daily Face, yeah, Daily Faceoff has him and Mark Stone on the first penalty kill unit.
You know what?
Damn,
Honestly, Stone's probably getting moved down to the. He's getting older. He's
he
injury
might
prone. Might as well move him down to the second penalty kill unit and put Marner on the first. I mean, God, if they're
very
both
well
good
could. I mean,
defensively, you could get a lot of shorthanded offense with Eichel Marner out there.
one, I think Vegas is at the point where you got to start considering Stone's long-term health. I mean, he is only 33, but when he was 28, 29, 30, like a lot of bad injuries, missed a lot of time. It's probably only going to get, he's probably going to be maybe more injury prone, I guess I should say, as he gets older. So you might, yeah, I mean, as good as he might be, you might have to be like, second penalty kill unit,
You're going
third.
to
You got
max
to
out
maybe
at
start to,
18 minutes of time on ice this
yeah,
season. Like
yeah,
just lower it a little bit. You don't have to be 20, 21 minutes a night anymore.
yeah. Um, Other than that, though, I mean, there's a couple that Marner and Eichel. For me, I think that's kind of it. Um, I don't see
Yeah.
a Vez. I mean, we kind of just hyped up Aiden Hill, but I don't see a Vezina out of him. I like Shea Theodore a lot, but I don't. Again, with the players out there, I don't see a Norris for him.
The only way he
Yeah,
wins a Norris is if it's like a season similar to you know, Tampa in 2019 or Boston in 2023, where it's like a record-setting year for the club, and everyone on the team just kicked so much ass that like
yeah,
their power plays at like a 30 or like a 39%, and he just racked up 90 points because of it or something.
yeah.
So not very likely.
But I think we can move on from Vegas here now.
Yep, I think we've covered that pretty good.
Moving on from the Vegas Golden Knights, next up we have the LA Kings. The LA Kings, who finished second in the Pacific last year, 105 points, going out in round one yet again to the Edmonton Oilers. Surprise, surprise. Hey,
Play
the
that
LA
song
Kings,
again.
we have finishing here in 3, 2, 1, third.
Fifth. Yep.
Damn,
Yeah, I got him falling.
damn.
I got him all the way down in fifth. We were talking about it right before we started recording this, but I was saying like my predictions for the Pacific, I think, are the most out of the ordinary ones that I've done for any of the four divisions, and it's a lot of it's because of teams like the Kings, where like I don't know what to predict from this team. They've been good. They're kind of on the up. They've been on the up, and then this offseason you know, they they trade Gavrikov and they trade who is it? Spence, and then they bring in CC, which is fine for the third line, but not great.
Probably not overly, probably not overly what you want there, I would say.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to like and a lot of things to dislike with this team right now. Um yeah, there's not much that's
Yeah,
changed on their forward core, but their D core has been shaken up quite a bit. And then their net is rather unpredictable, even more so than goalies are generally. Like Kemper struggled for a while in recent years, but he came third in Vezina voting last season. Like he beat out Logan Thompson, who what was he like 30-1 or some shit? Like it was goofy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very hard to predict with this team.
It really is, and obviously, it's kind of nice that we did save this division for the end because, like you mentioned me earlier, the big bomb of, you know, this will be the final season for Anze Kopitar. That's obviously, a big thing, and something that kind of, factored in a bit. Obviously, I think LA had one of the worst off seasons in the entirety of the league.
Yeah.
Last year, or is just this past year. But again, I still don't overly hate the position that they're in terms of their forwards. I think their
Yeah.
forward core is fine. The defense, it definitely does look a little bit more rough. I think the addition of Brian Dumoulin could potentially be solid. I actually thought he had a really good stint there with New Jersey. Brant Clark is going to get more opportunity and more time.
I do really like that for them. Clark's going to take a good step, I think.
I would hope so. I think that the door is wide open for him now, especially
extension
with
eligible.
Jordan Spence gone. I think that's the big reason why Jordan Spence was moved out. And again, yeah, a big thing is really just this is Kopitar's last year, so I fully expect Ken Holland to try and go all in with this team, try and get over that hump that is Edmonton potentially in the first round again. And again, like I still don't hate the makeup of the roster. I definitely think they're a bit weaker, but I think the door's a bit more open for some growth out of younger players that the Kings are hoping is going to be the future of the team.
Yeah. Once this season is over and Kopitar retires, Drew Doughty will have 1 year left on his contract. After that, he has 2 years right now. Do you think they choose somebody else? Do you think they go without a captain for a bit? Or do you think just because he's been around for long enough? I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of the short-term captains, but do you think they throw the C on for Drew Doughty, even if it's for 1 year? If nothing else, just a thank you for being with the team forever and giving another year for whoever comes next, whether that's Byfield or Kempe to come into their own.
I could see it, yeah. A
Yeah.
little bit of a nod to Doughty, and yeah, absolutely, I could see that for them.
Yeah, kind of almost the reverse situation of Chara being the captain forever, and then Bergeron at the end of his career getting to be captain for a year or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about Kuzmenko? How much do you think he does for this team?
I mean, if he can do what he did last year on that, top line, I'm not going to say the nickname that was online for the line, but look at the three last names, and you can put together what was there. But I really honestly was a big fan of Kuzmenko when he got there. I didn't necessarily love the move at the time because I was just like, the Kings needed more. But
yeah,
Kuzmenko was exactly what they needed. He fit in that top six, especially on the first line, and it worked. Enough so that they brought him back. I thought he was pretty good in Calgary, but Calgary just, not the fans, but just the management didn't seem to have that love for him. Thought, hey, maybe Philly's going to be a great place for him. There wasn't the love for him. They flipped him. He was even great in Vancouver, and when they had the chance to flip him, they did it. So I'm hoping that maybe he finally found a place in LA where he can stay, because again, on that top line,
he's too good of a player.
End of the regular season, in the playoffs, I thought he was great, and again, he was exactly what they needed, right? So
yeah, and it's interesting because he had that absolutely electric first season where he had, he almost hit 40 goals in his first season. Like, it was incredible, and put up like 70 plus points. And then he had a bit of a down year, and they were like, we should maybe move off of him while he still got this value. And then sometimes he was doing that for Calgary, but most of the time he wasn't. They moved him. They got a good return from him in Calgary, which was really good for them. And I don't remember what the trade from Philly to LA looked like, but
I think it was just Kuzmenko for, I think it was like a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, like that was crazy to me that they gave up on him that fast when they gave up Farabee and Frost. Like they gave up good pieces.
And then they let Peltier walk.
Yeah.
So I think the plan all along was really just to move on from Frost and Farabee. Flyers knew they weren't part of their long-term plan, and also to kind of help them maybe tank a bit,
right?
Yeah, but
like obviously Calgary's not giving you a first, but if I'm Calgary and they say, hey, Farabee and Frost for a second,
they got a second, but they got a second along with it.
Oh, okay, they did. Okay, they got some draft capital then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still got a second round pick along with it. So,
okay, but yeah, I definitely think it feels like his best fit so far. besides maybe that rookie season in Vancouver, has been in LA. And I think, he's a guy that could put up 10 goals, 10 assists for 20 points next year, or he could put up 40 and 40 with a guy like Kopitar and Kempe. So if he
Yeah.
has a really strong season and, that keeps him on the top line, that means now your second line is Fiala, Byfield, and Laferriere. That's really solid. So this could be a really good team, or they could fall off a bit. Obviously, I have them fifth, so I'm predicting they fall off a little bit more, unfortunately. But I think this team
There's always one
is
team
still a
every year
little
that
retool
that
around.
falls a bit. Yeah,
Somebody has
and
to,
I
with all the teams
I
moving up.
absolutely could see that again because I was not happy with their offseason, but I'm just kind of banking on that Kopitar factor of them maybe going a bit more all in and everybody kind of trying to give it their all for one last run.
That
Could
is true.
happen. They definitely could fall, and if there was a team to fall drastically in the standings from last year to this year, it definitely would be the LA Kings. So they're kind of an unknown right now, and we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, and I also definitely don't expect them to move Kopitar at all. It makes no sense to me for them to come out like, because they don't know when a guy like Crosby is going to retire, right? And he's not. It's
Yeah,
kind of an internal discussion, but Kopitar, he made this announcement in joint with the team, so it very much feels like we're letting you guys know this is my last year. So enjoy this last run, not we're gonna trade me at some point this year.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think
unless he
Kopitar's
has a
plan
big
is
change of
to
heart, I don't think he's moving.
retire as a member of the Kings,
Two
wrap his
cups.
career up there.
He doesn't
Yeah,
need to cup chase. So
yeah.
individual awards.
Individual awards. I mean,
The
maybe Kopitar for one final Selkie, but again, with the players out there, I think it's a bit maybe more of a long shot than
it's
normally.
it's a bit longer of a shot than it has been,
It's
but he's
still
still put up.
possible, but
He's still around 70 points a game. 70 points a game, 70 points a season. So, that's not crazy far off
it's
from
not
what
impossible.
Barkov's putting
But
up.
if
So,
if people ask, is Kopitar top 5? Probably not at this point.
mm,
Top 10, but top 5 now?
lock for
Probably
top
not.
10, maybe a top 5. He's probably around that 5 to 7 range for me, somewhere in
Because
there.
you've at least got Barkov, now Reinhardt's in there, and they're
Barkov,
just chomping
Reinhardt,
at the bit to give
Heischer for
Suzuki and
sure.
Heischer one.
That is
So,
true. Suzuki's now in
and
there. Okay,
Eichel's getting
okay.
in that conversation now. Matthews, if he's healthy, Marner's starting to make more and more noise each year.
Okay, you know what? You're
No,
right.
again, if
There's a lot of
if
good players.
would I want Kopitar to win it? Absolutely, that'd be incredible for him to win it. One final time and retire. But it's a bit more of a long shot now. But again, like definitely still possible, and kind of really the only award I can see being won by a player on this team because it's kind of by
Yeah.
committee team, not really
Yeah. I
a
guess
couple
it's only fair.
superstars doing it all.
It's only fair that we also say Darcy Kemper for Vesna. He was a finalist last season, so do I see him winning it? No, but he was literally a finalist last season. It's only fair to throw his
Yeah,
name in there.
fair, yeah.
And if you want to count it as one of the major awards, Kopitar winning the Lady Byng. He won it last season. He won it 2 seasons ago, or 3 seasons ago in 2022-23, and then 24-25. So definitely could see that again.
Yeah.
Dude had 4 penalty minutes in each of those seasons.
It is pretty impressive. But we will be moving on from the LA Kings here, and we are moving on to really what is their arch nemesis now in the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers here, who finished, what do they have here? Last year, they finished 3rd in the Pacific, 101 points. Obviously, we know the story of them going all the way back to the Stanley Cup for the 2nd consecutive year. Braden, the Edmonton Oilers here in 3, 2, 1 second.
First.
Second,
I've got them in first. I think they are going to be hell-bent on revenge this next season. McDavid, Draisaitl, they have no problems torching the league in the regular season or really in the playoffs. Even it's just they don't have the supporting cast. I'm not feeling as good about my pick as I look at the projected lineups. I'm seeing David Tomasek is projected to be the first line right winger. I've never heard of this man in my life. Um, but still,
that's not.
I was gonna say
I
this
don't,
does
I don't
not
even know
seem
what that is.
accurate.
Yeah,
But
I've never heard of him. Sorry to David or Davis or whatever, but
I'm sorry, David, if you're our listener up in Edmonton. But yeah, 29 years old. Looks like they signed him to a 1-year deal. Looks like he's just a free agent signing. Yeah, played in Czechia, played in Farjestad BK. Got to assume that's a Swiss or a Finnish league. But I mean, they got a lot of these young guys coming up. Pod Colson's been coming into his own. They took a flyer on Mangiapane, uh, Matthew Savoie, Isaac Howard. If each of those guys can be mostly what they want, uh, could be absolutely huge. Especially Savoie and Howard.
yeah, like overall, you look at looking on Daily Faceoff where we're at right now, Edmonton's forward core doesn't look bad there. The crazy part is their forward core actually looks way worse if you move Draisaitl on that first line. Because then, that first
Yeah,
line, you could put whoever, and they're deadly. And obviously, it's not including Zach Hyman on here, but
that's true. He's
you
missing.
need to. The Oilers need to be able to find a way to win games and survive consistently with McDavid and Draisaitl separated at 5-on-5. Occasional time, if you want to do the thing where after you kill a penalty or something, you throw them out together for a shift, that's fine. But
Sure.
they're
Final
your
shift of a period, maybe.
they're your two biggest play drivers, and honestly, with this forward core, they're your only two play drivers here. So, you need to keep them apart. You need to, McDavid can make it work with anybody. We've seen that. Draisaitl, for the most part, can, but at the same time, he also really hasn't gotten much help on the wings. They tried last year with Arvidsson Skinner, and that really didn't work out well. And then he was still kind of,
I can't believe that worked out so
left,
badly, honestly.
and
Like that.
and yet he still won the Rocket.
Yeah, by a pretty goofy margin, considering he had 52 goals. Like goal scoring was definitely down on a per player basis,
Yeah.
but not for Draisaitl.
Overall, though, I don't mind the forward core. Obviously, you're gonna have Zach Hyman back at some point, and that's gonna be huge. Mangiapane, I think, is a guy that you're probably gonna get at least 20 goals out of. Savoie and Howard, unknowns because they're rookies.
Total unknowns.
Could go very good, could go bad. That's kind of the story with any rookies. There's a lot of hype, and we'll see how that goes.
If Howard can sneak onto Draisaitl's line, which I think he's going to try and do, he could definitely be a dark horse for the Calder. I was very high on him, and then I became less high on him because now he's not on my team, right? But uh, he's one of those overaging guys who won the Hobie Baker, but I don't think he's gonna be the same level of most guys winning that award, like a Cale Makar or a Celebrini, but I think he's still going to be a damn good player. And if he's on a line with a guy like Draisaitl, who's great at play driving and possessing the puck and both shooting and passing, I think that'll make Howard look so much better than he even is at this point. Like I think he's going to get
Absolutely.
I think he's going to produce really well if he can stay on that line, which isn't exactly hard hitting journalism. Guy with Draisaitl is going to put up points, but
Yeah.
I think he'd do it better than the rest of the depth chart.
Yeah, I definitely think. Yeah. Overall, the forward core again, I'm not too concerned about that. More than anything, again, they just need to find ways to win consistently by keeping McDavid and Draisaitl apart. Because when you put them together, it works. But then that line has to single-handedly basically carry you to a win, or your power play just has to be elite.
And you would
The
need
blue line,
3 other shutdown forward lines, which it just doesn't happen. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you got to be able to win splitting them up.
On the blue line, I don't have any issues really. Well, actually, maybe a little bit. I'm hoping that consistent, you know, that Ekholm can stay healthy and
Yeah.
that his play kind of in the back, like when he came back from injury in the playoffs, was just because he was playing injured. Because he just did not look like himself, and I hope that's not something that carries over. I do fully expect him to be back healthy, ready to go. On top of his game, you still have Jake Wallman, who was everything and more that you could have asked for since coming in there.
He was so
Bouchard,
good for them.
Say what you want about him in terms of his defensive play. You're still going to get at least at minimum 65 points out of him, and more probably. Darnell Nurse, is he overpaid? Sure. Is he still an effective guy on the back end? Yeah. Kulak, solid. Emberson, he's good enough on a third pair that you'll
Emberson's
be fine.
probably the one you'd want to upgrade out of the 6 for sure, but it's not something that's pressing. If a guy becomes available at the deadline or halfway through the season, you can look into it, but it's a pretty good decor, all things considered. Like,
Yeah,
you want
absolutely.
Nurse's contract to be a bit cheaper. Yeah, I mean, what team doesn't want their contracts cheaper, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
yes,
really the
every
only
team,
nitpick there.
The biggest thing is the goaltending. Does the goaltending screw Edmonton constantly during the regular season? No. So that's why I'm like they're still going to be top 2 in the division. Playoffs, totally different story. But again, if you're an Oilers fan, or just anyone in general, kind of rooting for Edmonton, you probably do want them to make an upgrade at some point in the goaltending position.
Yeah.
Skinner's, had the flashes, and shown what he can do. But eventually you do got to make that move and move on from him.
Yeah.
And it should be sooner rather than later. But
the last 3 seasons,
we'll see what they do with that.
He has played 50, 59, and 51 games. Stuart Skinner is a good goalie. I think he gets way more crap than he deserves from people, and that's just because
it's always easiest to blame the goalie,
and it's just because he's the starter. It's not even a case of he's letting us down for the cap hit. He's making 2.6 mil. Like that's downright that he's kind of on a discount, honestly. And it's just
if you want to
shouldn't be playing 59 games in a season. He should be part of a tandem. If they could find a goalie to be in a solid tandem with him, then
it's difficult to run a tandem in the playoffs, though.
That's true, I guess.
Because again, I don't think Stuart Skinner is a bad goalie. He has shown time and time again that he can be a good goalie. I think his biggest problem is he has trouble handling the pressure. The pressure of the environment in the game, and also the pressure that comes from the fans, the media, all that stuff, because
being the goalie to backstop
McDavid. He could have 3 great games, and it's awesome. He has 1 bad game, and he just gets dogpiled on. And it's just over and over again. Like, we saw him have great stretches in the playoffs and good, but once he has a bad game, people just forget about that, and they just go back to, he's the worst. He's going to cost us every year. We need to move on from him. And, eventually that gets to a player. I think Stuart Skinner's a goalie that, if he was in a tandem elsewhere outside of Edmonton, could probably thrive, getting away from a lot of that negativity, because there's always going to be a lot of negativity in Edmonton when you have McDavid, you have Draisaitl, and you're constantly cup chasing, and it's, when are these 2 guys going to win a cup? And if it's not Stuart Skinner getting the blame, it's Darnell Nurse. If it's not Darnell Nurse getting the blame, it was a Cody Ceci. And if it's not Cody Ceci getting the blame, it's Evan Bouchard. If it's not Bouchard, it's back to Skinner. It's kind of just a carousel of 3 or 4 players that, who's going to be the one we dogpile on, and Skinner finds himself in that conversation a lot. So
his stats in the playoffs last year, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I have to bring it up. It's so funny to look at. So 15 games played. He had 7 wins, 6 losses, an 889 overall. You can only win if you get a shutout. You don't lose getting a shutout, at least not in the playoffs. So he only won 7 games, but those 7 games are really bringing up his stats because 3 of them he had shutouts. Like, he only had 6 losses, but he had 3 shutouts. Realistically, yeah, he has those games where he absolutely crumbles, and then he just has those games where he just says, "No, I will not be scored on," which is
He just,
insane.
yeah, he hits a new level. And a big thing with Edmonton again this year is, you know, if McDavid's not signed by the time the regular season starts, that is going to be a constant talking point. And if Edmonton has a
Yeah.
rough start to the year, that only gets worse, and that's going to have
And
a constant effect
and
on
they
that
have
locker room.
they have like 3 years in a row. They come out and they're pretty weak in October and November, and then they build up throughout the season. They get better. So
Like, do I think McDavid's going to re-sign Edmonton? Absolutely, I think he does. Do I think it's a 7 or 8 year deal? No, but I do believe he does re-sign. But the longer it goes without him, whether he says that it's not going to have an impact on the locker room, whether the coach does, whether other players, it is going to, because that is going to be in every player's mind. Like, we got to get this shit going, or he's going to be gone. We got to
yeah,
figure it out now, or he's going to be gone. And the longer it goes on, I do believe that the more it'll start to affect these players. But again, weak division. When you have McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard on the back end, you're going to be a playoff team. And Edmonton's proven twice now. It doesn't matter where they finish in the standings. It doesn't matter who they're playing in the playoffs, whether they have home ice advantage, whether they're on the road. They can get to the cup final. So
yeah.
their goal is just to be the best team that they can, and just kind of similar to Florida, just get to the playoffs, and whatever's in front of you, you can overcome that to get there. So I think Edmonton's going to be a very good team this year. I'm very excited to see how the rookies fare. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're always an
No,
exciting team to watch.
absolutely. You're right on the money with that, and especially with the compounding of the pressure that'll just keep building on them. One thing I do think though is some teams that can help. I don't necessarily know if it would for this Edmonton team, and it definitely wouldn't for a guy like Stuart Skinner, I don't think, but you know, there's extra pressure when McDavid hasn't signed, and it's like you're trying to win a Stanley Cup. You have to be able to play through that pressure. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of guys they crumble under the pressure, but some guys, that pressure makes diamonds. And I think those are the guys that McDavid's hoping that they have, and that if they don't, they'll go out and get. So it'll be
Yep.
interesting to see, you know, if they go to the playoffs without an extension and it's like McDavid might just walk, play
That'd be wild.
every second of your shift like it's the last you'll ever play. Like you
Absolutely.
if you don't get it done here, you might go down in history as the schmucks who couldn't get it done for 97. So
Yeah.
it would be
In
interesting to see
terms
how they play.
of awards, I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl for me, Art Ross, Hart, Rocket.
Lindsay, Rocket,
They're
For
going to be
either of
in
them.
the like they're either one of them could win any one of those awards.
I'm almost
Evan,
expecting McDavid to win the Rocket this year. I don't know if you saw
wouldn't
in
be
the
surprised.
interview he said he put up 65 goals the one year, he put up 106 or 100 assists the next year, and he prefers the goal scoring, and he says he wants to bring his goal scoring numbers back up this season. I
And if he wants to, he can.
If he just
Absolutely.
decides to, he'll go out there and drop another 65.
Evan Bouchard, kind of similar to the Kopitar one, is a long shot for me for the Norris. Just because, again, he puts up the points, but the defensive play is not enough there. And if you're debating between a Bouchard and a Makar, they're going to go with Makar. They're going to go with Hughes, Dolly, and Werenski. Even Thomas Harley starting to get in that conversation. And even if Bouchard has 10 more points than Thomas Harley's defensive game is quite a bit higher. And,
I think 10 would be enough to get it for Bouchard, but I think if it's only 5 or 6 away, I think they might give it to the other guy. But yeah, it would be interesting because obviously everyone knows it's kind of a bit of a, to an extent, an Art Ross for the defense. But
Hmm.
they definitely do pay attention to the defensive play as well when the points are close. And
Yeah,
also, how many goals is it? So yeah, I could see him winning one, but he's definitely a dark horse because
yeah,
he hasn't quite reached those super high offensive numbers in the regular season. That a Quinn Hughes or a Makar has, and his defense leaves a lot to be desired. So he would have to
mm,
beat them by a good bit.
yeah. Other than that, maybe maybe an Isaac Howard or a Savoie for the Calder. But again,
Yeah,
when that, I think they got to be stapled into that top six and not moved out. Like if they're playing alongside McDavid or Draisaitl, the potential is absolutely there for them. So I'll throw either one of them in as a potential.
yeah. Draisaitl potentially for the Selkie. I don't think he's even necessarily a dark horse yet, but there was a lot of talk about him being around the conversation last season. Sounds like his defensive game has taken a lot of leaps in the past 2 seasons. So sounds
I
like
wouldn't mind
Draisaitl's
seeing
even learned to
Draisaitl
play solid
win a
defense.
Selkie. I could get on board with that. But with that, we will move on from the Edmonton Oilers. Next up, the Calgary Flames. The Flames, who finished fourth in the Pacific last year, just missing out on the playoffs, barely. 96 points. Braden, the Calgary Flames in 3-2-1-6.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like doing it, but when you look at where they're at, where you look at the rumors are, the way things are going, um, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough year for them. The
Yeah.
biggest thing, I guess, we never talked about is they did lock down Dustin Wolf to a pretty nice long term extension, which
Great
that
contract.
that is huge for them to not do
I
that
was so worried they were
shitty
going
bridge
to.
deal.
Yeah. I was so worried they were going to do some stupid bridge deal. And I was like, just look
Well,
it
it's
up.
nice to see that Wolf didn't want a bridge deal either, though. Like people are like, "Oh, good thing the Flames didn't." It's
Yeah.
also a good thing that Wolf didn't. Good thing Wolf was
That means Wolf
fine
wants to
committing
stay
long
too.
term. Yeah.
So that's really nice for them. And also the other day, Captain Michael Backlund extended for 2 more years. So he's going
Yep.
to be with
Yeah.
the team for 3 more seasons at
Yeah.
a slight discount on the last 2 seasons, I believe. I think he took a little bit of a pay cut going from, this season he makes 4.5 and then he makes 3.25 the next two.
Yeah, with the Flames, obviously they did finish, fourth in the division, just barely missing out on the playoffs. But all signs are pointing to Rasmus Anderson being traded. Uh, a lot of the offense was heavily carried by Nazem Kadri. Can he repeat that this year? Maybe will he even be with the Flames for the entirety of the season? Tough to say.
He's 35, turning
you
35 in
know.
early
So
October.
there's some question marks, and I think the Flames are really hoping on some of their young prospects to come up and make that jump and make an impact. That's a big determining thing. But again, I think the Flames are continuing on in the process of going through a retool. And with that, you do have to move out pieces, bring in some younger pieces, bring in picks. I expect them to still take that route this year. The only reason they were fourth in the division last year and just barely missed out on the playoffs, and only 5 points behind Edmonton, was Dustin Wolf. Is Dustin Wolf going to be as
Yeah.
good next year? Very well could be, probably. But is the team in front of him going to be as good? No. And that is what is going to hurt the Flames. That is what's going to bring them down a bit more. And, because again, 96 points, I think, is pretty incredible for where they were last year. Love the
Yeah,
Flames, don't
that's
get me
really
wrong, but
impressive
like
that they had
96
that.
points is pretty absurd for, the team they had. So, but again, I think sixth
Did
place is
Florida
fine.
even hit 100 points last year? I don't think they did.
Florida, no, 98 points.
They finished 2 points back of the Panthers.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. That's crazy
Dustin
that they
Wolf
did
really
that.
did carry them. I think he is a phenomenal goalie. Definitely could
He
potentially
earned
be
his
in
5th place
the
Hart vote.
yeah, and like he's gonna win a Vezina at some point in his career. But if the Flames finish fourth again next year, and miss the playoffs, I think it's an absolute failure. Because they are trying to do a retool, and it does not do you any good to be picking middle of the draft every year, just over and over again. Look at where Minnesota got, and they were stuck there because they're like, well, we got our pieces, we just need a little bit more. But it's like, yeah, but you're not getting any pieces by being stuck in the middle of the draft. You're getting good second liners, potentially a top end player if you have great scouting. And Calgary's drafts have actually been pretty good, but
they've been very good the last.
If you
2
can
or
get
3 years.
another, top 10 pick or something, that helps a lot with the pieces you've already got. And they should be exploring that. They finally have their own first again, and they have Vegas's first, unprotected. So stock the cupboards up. It could be a rough year for them, but they do have a lot of good pieces in place. Got your goalie of the future. Hope you enjoyed Rasmus Anderson while he was. I remember the Flames because it sounds all but confirmed that he's gone in.
Yeah, Backlund even said in that one interview about a month ago now that, Anderson's basically as good as gone. We just don't know when. So hopefully they get a good return for them, for Anderson. And if they can move out Kadri, that'll help them tank a good amount as well. And he's an aging asset. He's every season from here on out, I think he's going to start declining. Like, I know he had a great year last year, but like, he's going to be 35. He just doesn't scream a guy whose play style is going to age super well. I think his athleticism is his bread and butter. So,
yeah,
I think you gotta try and get assets back for Kadri as soon as possible.
You got to capitalize on the value.
Yeah, and the match made in heaven still seems for me like it's Montreal. They need that second line center. He's right there. It makes
Montreal's got pieces to give up.
Yep, like it just makes too much sense to not go for something like that.
I got to adjust something here, but I'm going to throw you a question here because I know you're gonna. You can definitely give some good insight. What are your thoughts on Jonathan Huberdeau here, heading into this is fourth year with the Flames here? What are your thoughts on Huberdeau here?
Wow, 4th year already. That's crazy. Yeah, I've always been a fan of Huberdeau's, which is kind of crazy because he did play for Florida for around a decade, and he people always talk about Barkov being the one guy where it's like, he's one of those guys you can't hate. But that was always Huberdeau for me. He's such a solid playmaker, and obviously his production dip fell off way harder in Calgary compared to when he was in Florida. But, first season with Calgary, 15 goals, 55 points. So huge fall off in points, but goal scoring especially was rough. The second season, 12 goals, 52 points, even rougher. Last season, 28 goals for 62 points. The points and especially the goal scoring were up. He scored more goals last season than the previous 2 years combined for Calgary. So it was really nice to see his shot come back and his goal scoring touch. And I think it's a big confidence thing as well. And I think that's going to be massive for him moving forward because they do need him to produce well. Like, I don't think he's ever going to, at this point, live up to that. What is it? 11 and a half mil.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to live up to that. But at the same time, if he can improve a little bit on last season, get back to around a 75, 80 point player, how long does the cap have to keep going up before he's worth about 11 million if he keeps putting up 80 points?
10 and a half he's at.
Okay, 10 and a half. Like, the cap's going up. We're talking about guys turning down 16 million per year contracts. At a certain point, he could be coming up on being worth 10 million-ish if he can play a little better and just keep doing that year in, year out. So, yeah. I'm glad to see because I was really excited for him coming to Calgary, and those first 2 years were brutal, but
they were rough. Yeah.
People are still not super happy with his cap hit and his play still, but it's much better than it was the first 2 years.
Yeah, and with the Flames, again, you do have good piece in place. Huberdeau's still going to be there. You got Weegar. You've got Coronado locked in. You've got Zari back on a new deal. Like you've got pieces, but yeah, it's your Andersons, and Anderson only because again they're not gonna be able to come together on an agreement for a contract. But Kadri's getting up there in age. You got to capitalize on value. Blake Coleman, love him there. Fans love him. Team loves him. You could probably cash in on some good value for him now.
He's got two
So,
more seasons
you know.
on his current contract. If he keeps playing after that contract, which I assume he probably will, he's going to get a big pay increase. Cap's going up in 2 years a lot, and he's already only making 4.9. So
The Flames are in a good position to.
if you retain on half of that, less than 2.5 mil for a guy like Coleman for 2 seasons, they could get well more than a first round pick for that.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like if you're the Flames, do you want to just run it back and keep the group together and kind of middle out again, or do you cash in on the value and stock up on pieces again in what is a very deep and good draft? Beef up your prospect pool with your young guys already coming in, and then you're golden moving forward in 2 or 3 years. Because again, it's a retool, not a rebuild.
Exactly, and there's so few teams that are actively looking, like we've said before, that want to tank this year, despite there being a guy like Gavin McKenna available. Like, even if you don't get Gavin McKenna, there's a lot of really good players in this draft, and everyone else is trying to go up. If you want to go down, it's not that difficult to tank down into that bottom 6 or 7 teams. And
Absolutely.
they've already got these young players. You bring in some good already drafted prospects, maybe get a couple of first rounders for some of those guys. Like they've got the young guys and they've got the old guys. If they can just end up turning those already old guys into more good young guys, I think they'll be in a really good spot
moving forward. Yeah, I like where they're at now. I like the possibilities for them. I hope they execute in that way.
Wolf might steal too many games for them to be that bad, but
and that's a tough part. But if you sell off some pieces, it is definitely going to help you fall down a little bit, even if it's only a couple spots. Because again, at the end of the day, 8th, 9th overall is way better than 12 or 13.
Yeah.
In terms of awards, really the only one for me is potentially Zane Parekh for the Calder.
Yeah.
I think there's a definitely possibility for him to get some big minutes as early as December, and if he's on that top power play, in the one game we saw from him in the NHL last year, the offensive skill is there. He can make some stuff happen. That's about it though. I would love to say Wolf for Vezina, but not quite yet because I don't think the wins will be there.
Yeah. It's more likely. I genuinely think it's one of those cases where Wolfwood is more likely to win the Hart than the Vezina, because even if they sneak into the playoffs like on the back of him, he's still just barely going to get him there and won't quite have the counting stats to be a Vezina caliber guy. But people might look at him and be like, he carried their ass, he gets the Hart.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, I just don't see happening this next season. But dude's super young. He's got plenty of time for it.
Down the road, absolutely. Moving on here to the Vancouver Canucks. They finished 5th in the Pacific last year, 90 points, so 6 back of the Calgary Flames. The Vancouver Canucks here in 3, 2, 1,
4th.
I didn't love putting them in 4th, but again, the Pacific isn't a great division. I'm not even super high on the Canucks, but somebody's got to finish 4th.
Does that mean you have them in the playoffs?
No.
You had you had 5 in the Central as well?
5 in the Central. Yeah, I think I had 5 in the Central, 5 in the Atlantic, and then 3 and 3 in the Pacific and Metro.
Makes sense. That's kind of what I thought I'd end up doing, and then I fell victim to wanting the Blue Jackets too much in the Metro. But yeah, I also have the Canucks at 4. Oh, is
I
such a
don't even
weird
love
team.
where the Canucks are at, but it's basically it's actually very similar to the LA thing that I kind of talked about with it being Kopitar's last year. Vancouver's just going to try and do everything they can to keep Quinn Hughes. And a great start for it was actually finding a way somehow to keep Brock Besser, even though Besser went to free agency. He went past that
Besser
July
just
1st
did not
date.
want to leave.
And
He didn't want to go, man.
well, I think at the end of the day, Besser was open to leaving, and that's why he went to free agency. But then he kind of went out there and realized there wasn't much that was as desirable. Like I think it was almost kind of a thing of him and his agent were like, there could be a lot of teams out there, a lot of options. It kind of got out there and was like, this actually isn't great. And then Vancouver had a great offer there for him, and Vancouver finally met him at a longer term deal because originally he wanted a long term deal. Vancouver wanted to go short, and Vancouver finally came back and said, we'll give you a long deal, and that was good enough to get it done. And he's going to be a Canuck for quite a while here, and that's huge for them.
Yeah, I guess. I
don't think Besser necessarily ever wanted to leave, but I think
I just can't believe that there's not teams worth it. There weren't teams willing to give him an 8x8, out there, or an 8x7, I guess. But
again, right? If you look at it, if the team's offering that is a San Jose and an Anaheim, a Chicago, like, does he want to go to those teams? Because a lot of top end contending teams didn't have the money for him.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, and like Vancouver ended up giving him 7 by 7.250. He gets to stay where he wants to stay and play.
Yeah, I do think it's that he just really did want to stay in Vancouver because I think he did leave quite a bit of money out there.
But he wasn't going to stay if Vancouver wasn't willing to budge on their whatever they were willing to offer him, 4 years or something, because he wanted a long-term commitment there, and Vancouver just kept saying no. But once Vancouver finally was willing to give him a long-term deal, it was a no-brainer for him. Like you said, to come back. He just wanted stability and wanted to be somewhere where he felt wanted.
Yeah.
And that's huge for them. The addition of Evander Kane, locker room stuff aside, on ice, I think he's going to be a great fit there, and he kind of brings some in-your-face nastiness and goal scoring that Vancouver desperately needs. How's it going to work with Elias Pettersson? Who knows? Because that
I imagine
Evander Kane rerun of the issue, but
I imagine Evander Kane is coming into a situation where, okay, they just traded JT Miller away, who's on a very good contract as well, because
captain material.
Yeah, he's captain of the Rangers now. They traded him away because it didn't work with Pettersson, and they are Team Pettersson in Vancouver. If Kane comes in and has any problems with Pettersson, I think he knows better than anyone. His ass is out the door. He will be playing out the rest of the season in Abbotsford if he's got a problem with Pettersson, I think so. I'm not saying I'm not going to guarantee that he's smart enough to stay away from it, but I think there's a good chance he knows the situation at least.
Yeah. And overall, you look at the Canucks, the biggest, there's two big talk points. Obviously, the big one is going to be, Quinn Hughes and, because as of July 1st next year, eligible for an extension. Canucks are going to want to be in a spot and give him what he wants, what he needs to satisfy him for him to want to stay. But the biggest thing is Elias Pettersson making 11.6 for the next quite a while. He's on a full no move clause now. You need at minimum 90 points out of him. You need him to be the guy to carry this team. You don't have JT Miller anymore. You have Filipino, who's a nice addition, but you could get 82 games out of him. You could get 2. You could get 30. His health is a big question mark. You do have nice pieces: Stone, Brock Besser up front, Jake DeBrusk, Vander Kane, now Connor Garland. But Elias Pettersson is your Connor McDavid. He is your Sidney Crosby. He's your Connor Bedard. He is your guy up front that is expected to lead the offense, lead the charge, produce for this team, and give them a good chance to win. Last year didn't go good, but all those distractions are gone. All that stuff is out the window. It is a new season, and It is on Pettersson now to go out there and lead this team up front.
Yeah.
Be the play driver and put them in a spot to make the playoffs. Because if Elias Pettersson is only putting up 60 to 65 points, Vancouver ain't sniffing a playoff spot. If he's in that 85 to 90 to 100 point range, potentially even more, that would be nice. Then they have a chance. Then the conversation is starting that Vancouver could get back in the playoffs. But because we know Quinn Hughes is going to do fantastic stuff. Quinn Hughes is going to be elite. But it is on Elias Pettersson to get the offense going up front. You can't rely on the team to only produce when Quinn Hughes is out there. He can only play so much.
Yeah. Yeah. They need Pettersson to get better. And I'm surprised they haven't started on this. This is a bit of a side thing, but I'm surprised they haven't started building a training facility yet to try and keep Quinn Hughes around. For those who don't know, the Vancouver Canucks are the only team in the NHL that does not have a dedicated training facility. They just don't have one.
Damn.
Utah also didn't have one because they were brand new. They even finished theirs and unveiled it last week. So they're back to being the only one in Vancouver. The Aquilinis, the owners of the team, are just, I guess, too cheap to make one. I don't know. It's very lame, but you'd think that would be a free space to. They should already have it, but put this in around when Quinn Hughes' contract's up. Hey, look at this shiny new shit we brought in. Elias Pettersson, though, one thing that I do think is interesting that I saw is that he's gained around 15 pounds in this offseason, apparently.
I was going to mention that, but I couldn't quite remember the exact number, so I kind of just stayed away from it.
I did Google it. So I'm seeing 15. I think it might be 13. I'm seeing some places say 13, some are saying 15. I'm kind of assuming 15 is the rounded number, so it's 13 to 15-ish, which is pretty similar. But when guys come in, because earlier in the offseason he was saying, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling in the best shape of my life. That's the kind of shit you don't need to listen to, right? Like, unless they say they're injured, you don't take that into consideration because everyone says that they're doing great, right? Like everyone's like productive off season, A-OK, boss.
Yeah.
But seeing a tangible, he's never been a big guy, but he's rather tall and he doesn't use his body as much as one might like. Adding 13 to 15 pounds, that's a decent amount of extra weight to throw around, right? Even if that's just making guys bounce off.
It's more muscle than body weight, though, like body fat.
Yeah, I have heard it described as everywhere. It's kind of saying lean bulk, so it sounds like the good kind of weight gain. Obviously,
I would hope so. Yeah,
I haven't seen any pictures of him circulating or anything, so it's impossible to tell until we kind of see him play. But it sounds like he took this offseason very seriously, so it will be interesting. I hope he turns it around. There's plenty of people out there. I mean, to be fair, it's a lot of Flames, Oilers fans, teams that don't want to see the Canucks succeed.
Yeah.
Praying for his downfall, but it's never fun to watch a guy, get the big contract and then everyone's shit talking him and he's not doing well. And it's like, that's not fun. It's more fun if somebody has a bad year and they're kind of getting dunked on, you at least want them to be, a Sam Bennett type, right? At least somebody where you can rationalize why they might deserve it. But Pettersson just seems like a guy. So
yeah, and I like Elias Pettersson as a player. I think I was a bit harsh on him last year, but at the same time, I would have been just as harsh on JT Miller if Elias Pettersson was the one traded. Because again, whether you believe Miller was the problem, Pettersson, the matter of fact was the two couldn't come together and just be decent human beings to each other to coexist. So that puts pressure on whichever one was to stay. Elias Pettersson was the one to stay, so the pressure stays with him. JT Miller, whether he was the more of the issue or not, he's gone. He's out of the equation. It is now what is here, who's in the locker room, who continues to be a part of the Canucks, and that is Elias Pettersson.
Yeah.
And with that, he's you gotta carry the team
11.6
now.
mil. He's making a lot of money as well. Like,
It's a
you
lot of
have
money.
to. So
Yeah. So I was a bit harsh
I
on him
thought
last year. I am
I thought
hoping
he
for a bounce back year, but
I thought he was further into
only
the
time will tell.
contract. I didn't know it was so recent. This
It's
is just
pretty
now entering
it's
year
pretty
2
fresh.
of the 8-year
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought he'd been on it at least
That's also
3,
why I was
maybe
kind of
4
like
years.
maybe a little bit harsh as well, because it was the start of this brand new deal, and this is what you're getting right out of the gate is not a very good sign. It was kind of similar to almost the Jonathan Huberdeau thing, just minus the locker room issues, basically. But I do like a lot of the pieces they have up front. The blue line, I like the addition of Marcus Pettersson. That definitely helps. Philip Hronik, hopefully he can stay healthy, because when he's with Quinn Hughes, they ball out, as we know. Lankinen, not worried about him if he plays. Thatcher Demko, he's got an extension in place, so you're hoping he can, you know, stay healthy, because not this year, but next year, $13 million between Demko and Lankinen.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for two goalies.
I was surprised that they went 3 years with Demko just because of all the injuries.
They will both have a no movement clause. So have $13 million between your two goalies next year. Both have no movement clauses. However, they can always move Demko this year because it is an extension. It kicks in next year. So that's, if things
Which would
aren't
put them in
going
an
great,
awkward spot for moving Seelovs, because all of a sudden they'd be down to one goalie. But
yeah,
if Demko can play like we know he can, or even adjacent to that level, Demko Lankinen has potential to be one of, if not, I
it'd be
could
a
see
really
them
good
being the
tandem.
best tandem in the league. Like,
And they should be a tandem. I get Demko can get hot and be great, but because of the injury, because he can never be fully
pressure
healthy,
off him.
you have to just run a tandem. And if they do that, I really like that for Vancouver. So there's even a chance they hop LA for me. But a lot of things would have to go right, and I think the possibility is definitely there.
Yeah. And, Vancouver, or Lankinen for Vancouver last year, 51 games played, a 902 save percentage. That's above the 900 league average last year. And that was on a Vancouver team that was tumultuous all throughout the season. So, this guy can give you good goaltending. So, you don't have to be too worried about having to lean on him to take off some pressure from Demko. So,
Yeah,
I think they've got a good setup. Little expensive, but I do think it is a good setup in
it
their
can be
net.
very good though, and if they play well, definitely worth it. In terms of awards, the obvious Quinn Hughes, Norris, potentially Hart, the way he was playing last year up until the injury. I'll throw out
For
Jonathan
my money, he would have won it if he
Lekkerimäki,
was healthy.
stayed healthy. Well, and I think Vancouver had to make playoffs, but potentially could have if he.
I think they
would
have if he stayed healthy.
They're only 11 points back. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, I think, could potentially be a nod for the Calder if he makes a team, if he's in the right spot. The skill is definitely there. Bit of a dark horse, but I will throw that in there because I think he's a guy whose name, in the right situation, could be in the conversation. Outside of that, that's about it for me.
You know what? On an optimistic call, I'll say Elias Pettersson for the Selke. His defensive play has still been pretty good. If he can be that 90, 95 point guy, it's possible. We'll have to see. If they had an award for most hits, Kiefer Sherwood's probably in the front running. So,
yeah, dude loves to throw the body.
Loves throwing the body. Pick him up in your banger league.
But moving on here, next up we have the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks finished 6th in the Pacific last year. 80 points, no playoffs for the Ducks, but let's see where we got them this year. In 3, 2, 1, 5th.
3.
Wow.
I have the Anaheim Ducks in 3rd, making the playoffs. I just love so much about what this team has done. They have the perfect mix of veterans and the young high-end talent. Lucas Dostal looks so good in the net, and they've even got Peter Mrazek as a pretty solid backup. You know, Carlson, Cutter Gauthier took a step. You know, Troy Terry's been very solid. Bringing in Mikhail Granlund. Uh, you know, they do have to figure out what's going on with Mason McTavish for sure. That's going to be one of the biggest things with them.
Yeah.
But they've got so much young talent and great guys ushering them in, and they've got a new coach. They finally got a new coach. Whether you think Joel Quenneville should be allowed back in the league right now or ever at this point, unfortunately, either way, he is. He's here and he's coaching the Ducks, which is going to be a lot better for
Still a
them than
good
Cronin.
coach.
Yeah, he's going to be better for them on the ice than Cronin, pretty much no matter what. So
I could definitely see
I see
a
a big
world
jump from
where
him.
Anaheim finishes third and makes the playoffs. But a lot of it really is Chris Kreider's got to get back into somewhat form. If he's going to be a top 6 guy, you need that because you just do. And another one is you got to get Mason McTavish back in. I know you love him. I hate Alex Killorn on your second line. That is not a recipe for making the playoffs in this day and age. Great third liner, but
yeah,
you know, if you run a second line, you've got McTavish in there with Granlund and Gauthier. That's pretty damn good for a second line.
It's really whoever's the odd man out for me doesn't make that top 6. I think your 1-2 in the center is Carlson McTavish for sure, as long as you get McTavish signed and everything.
Yeah.
Cutter Gauthier on the left wing, Troy Terry on the right wing on second or first line, whichever one, and then the 2 spots you have left on whichever of those 2 lines, one on the left, one on the right, is filled in by any of Killorn, Kreider, and Granlund.
I think Granlund's a lock
Or
to be in that top 6. I
even
mean,
Vetrano.
they did just give Granlund $7 million, so
I think
I would
there's a
hope they
very good
didn't lock
chance.
him in for 3 years,
Yeah.
$7 million per year to be down on the third
Be a
line.
third line power play specialist. That's fair.
Especially seeing, you know, what he was able to do in San Jose and Dallas.
I would definitely imagine he would be the best of those 3 next season. So yeah, it's really whoever's going to be a winger on the second forward line between Kreider and Killorn. And
I would hope if Killorn's the one that's
it's impossible
there,
to say.
That means it probably got bent over in the Kreider deal, in my opinion.
Probably.
If Chris Kreider's I like Killorn, but if he's beating out Chris Kreider at this point, Chris Kreider's basically just a power play guy for you at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, third line, Vetrano, Strome, Colangelo. The fourth line, I don't love, but you know what? It's serviceable enough. Defense, Zellweger and Gudas. Hopefully Zellweger can get it going. Again, with all these young guys, they've been criticized, but all that criticism goes out the window because Cronin's gone. Let's see what Joel Quenneville can do with them. Jackson Lacombe, Drew Hellison. Lacombe's nice there. And then Mintakov and Trouba. That's a good, solid, beefy pairing that can play some shutdown minutes. And then, in goal, Lucas Dostal and Peter Mrazek, who can be a very solid backup. On paper,
they have another goalie, don't they?
Team.
Don't they have a third goalie?
Oh, yeah, they have Ville Husso.
They got Husso.
Husso. So on paper, I like this team, but I don't love it if McTavish isn't there. And I don't know what's going to happen with him. Is it going to be he signs in, he's here. He's currently not attending training camp. He's actually training with the Ottawa 67s in the OHL. It's kind of interesting. You got to get him signed. You got to get him in. I don't know what the holdup is, why he's not signed. I don't know if it's a term issue, a money issue. If McTavish doesn't want to be there, I don't know.
I wonder how much money he wants. Because
I would hope you don't move Zegras to have McTavish as your 2C of the future, and then McTavish is like, well, I'm out. Yeah. And then it's like, oh shit. Call up Philly. Yeah, can we get Zegras back now, please?
I mean, so we put up in the last 3 seasons in the NHL, 17, 19, 22 goals, 43, 42, 52 points. He hasn't really broken out yet as this bona fide player. So I could definitely see it being that he just wants more money than they're comfortable giving him quite yet.
But on the flip side of it, look at Jack Hughes, look at Matt Boldy, all these guys that it's an overpay at the time when they signed
Yeah.
it, but we know they're a good player. We know they're going to get there. McTavish was a third overall pick. Was it a bit of a reach at the time? Yeah, but it's also Anaheim. Anaheim's done that consistently throughout the entirety of this rebuild, pretty much. So
Yeah, they
you
really
gotta
never
get
took
McTavish
the
signed.
obvious guy, did they?
No. Well, actually, no, they didn't.
They
No,
left
not
Fantilli
once.
on the board with Carlson. Seneca himself became a meme because he couldn't believe he was
Couldn't believe.
picked
Yeah.
third. So
The only one was this past year, Roger McQueen. And that one just made sense for all the right reasons. So they actually finally went with the guy that made the most sense at the time. But yeah, I do agree with you. I like the team overall, but because of the uncertainty surrounding McTavish, I got him a little bit lower. I still have him improving on last year, but I think the Ducks need just one more year of seasoning before they get back into the playoffs.
yeah, I think they're just I definitely think that's very possible and almost more likely, but I see them having a Montreal last season kind of jump where they just kind of
Yeah.
you're waiting for them to fall off, and nope, they just keep winning. We'll see if it comes
I
on the
would.
back of a defenseman, like with the Canadians as well. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be shocked if Lacombe, Zellweger, or Mintyukov went out and exploded for 50 points, 55 points. Maybe not quite what Layton Hudson got, but put up very
Yeah.
solid numbers from the blue line.
It's possible. There's nothing really that I dislike with the Ducks. There's only really positives for them going into the season because again, the expectation isn't for them to make the playoffs. It's just continuing to do what they've been doing, and that is making improvements. I think by next season, a year from now, the expectation is going for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think this year it is, just continue to let your young guys get better, improve as they take over, and this is your core, and see what you've got out of Quenneville, what he can get out of these players. If it continues to not work with Zellweger, maybe you move him and you make some adjustments on the blue line. If whatever it may be, I think your forwards you're pretty fine with up front as long as you get McTavish, re-signed. But again, it's a year of growth, year of development, a year of maybe doing some tweaking here and there, and you just hope they improve on that 80 points. You would like them to be in that Vancouver spot at least of where they were at with 90 points last year. They put up 90 points. That's huge. That is a really good season for Anaheim.
And with another year like that next off season's got to feel so good. You are poised to make the playoffs after that. So,
and it helps having Dostal as your guy up front now.
Not a lot of teams
in the crease.
Yeah, not a lot of teams get the goalie locked in that early in the rebuild. You got kind of similar to how Calgary's done it with Wolf, and there's also even Askarov in San Jose. They've kind of got their guy in the future, but most of those teams going in that rebuild, there, it's more like Montreal where it's Montembeault's good. Do we know he's going to be the guy of the future? Not really, but we're hoping he will.
Chicago,
be, so.
A little bit later, but better late than never. Spencer Knight,
Broad and Spencer Knight.
We got him on an extension too, so they got him locked in for a couple years now, at least.
I think 3 more years. He's making quite a bit of money too. I think he's making like 5.8 or something.
And for all of these contracts we're talking about and news and stuff, like next episode we'll actually like properly mention all of them and go through it because again we do want to stay on the topic of the teams we're covering and
we'll talk about JT Miller being captain and stuff.
Yeah. Any last words on the Anaheim Ducks? In terms of awards, I don't have any. I'm
not seeing any
in the future
here.
Maybe, but
I could definitely see guys in the future having awards here, especially Leo Carlson. I think he's a guy who could win an Art Ross at some point or a Selke potentially. But yeah, this season I can't even make a justification for anybody really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at again. In the future, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anaheim and San Jose are kind of on the up. The LA Kings, unfortunately, are kind of going on the down. I was hoping we get to a point where all three Pacific teams again were beasts, and the battles of California is incredible, but might not get that way. But Anaheim for sure is definitely on the path upward this season. Moving on here, we've only got two teams left here in the Pacific Division to wrap it up. We have the Seattle Kraken. Seattle Kraken finished 7th in the Pacific last year, 76 points. This year, we have them finishing in 3, 2, 1, 8.
7th.
I was debating back and forth between
I was looking all
Jose.
Throughout my list, and I have them listed as Kraken instead of Seattle. So I was like, where's Seattle?
I almost actually I did this morning. I had San Jose in 8. I had Seattle in 7, but then I realized I predicted Seattle to be a bottom 3 team in the league, so I got to stick true to my original prediction on that. So I did have to knock them down to 8. And a big thing is didn't really make any major improvements in the offseason, and you fired your coach that you built your future on after 1 year, and you brought in a guy that was an absolute flop when he got his first head coaching opportunity with the Islanders. Sorry, Lane Lambert, but it really did not work out well for him as a head coach.
No.
So
yeah, I think they'll finish 7th. I do think they're just further along than San Jose is yet, but yeah, I mean, I have them at 7th. Like, I don't have much faith in this team.
They probably do finish in 7th, but I just have to back my original stance on them.
Sure. And
I can't pitch out now.
Would I be that shocked if Celebrini and some of the other young guys carried them above this team? Like, all it takes is a Joey Daccord injury, and this team is shockingly bad. Like, now you've got Philip Grubauer and Joe Schmo in the AHL playing Tendy, and they got a bunch of top 4-ish defensemen, and then Vince Dunn. If Matty, another reason I had him higher is because if Matty Beniers can take that step, Capo Caco actually looked really good last season with the Kraken, and so did Shane Wright. If those 3 guys can take steps together, that can really help turn this franchise around. I do think they're more pieces away than just that from being competitive, but
yeah,
it would help.
You do have that. You do have some good young pieces. But assuming Seattle's not making the playoffs again, these guys don't fit the timeline, and these guys are on expiring deals, so I kind of expect them to get moved off. Jaden Schwartz is UFA. He's 33 years old. Mason Marchment, who you just brought in, he is a UFA. He's 30 years old. He's probably you trade for him, and then you get some value out of him, and then you flip him for a bigger package. Jordan Eberle, your captain, is 35. He's a UFA. Jamie Alexiak, 32. He's UFA at the end of the year. Again, these are all still good players in the moment right now, but you don't want to be extending all of them because you need to make room for your young guys, and these guys are only going to get older and eventually start to decline. So
might as well trade them.
You might as well trade them. You might as well start to tank around the, maybe just after the Olympic break or even beforehand, because you're probably not going to be in a position where you can see a path to the playoffs. So you sell off some of your older guys, you make room for your younger guys, and you hope more than anything that your Matty Beniers, your Capo Cacos, your Shane Wrights, cement themselves as core pieces that you build around. And you still have a lot of good pieces in the future, which is good.
Yeah.
So I expect Seattle to be maybe potentially decent for a bit, but I think as time goes on, they'll start to go downward because the tank will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's more likely than not. They do have enough good players that I would like to see them not have to go into the full rebuild instead of a retool, but yeah, realistically,
I don't think it's necessarily a retool. It's just you got to make room for your young guys, because they do have a lot of good young drafted prospects that just aren't NHL ready yet. They might be next year or the year after.
That is
Like
true.
they've got kind of their forward core of the future, I think, almost made up between the prospects they've got. You
Five
just got to
for
kind of
five first
open the
rounders in the next 3 years. They got Tampa's
on that as
next
well.
two.
Yeah, they just kind of have to open the way for them. And again, because you've got the Jaden Schwartzes, the Eberleys, the Marchments, those guys are going to have to go to make room for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's
They got to
absolutely
make some
nothing
room.
wrong with them doing that again, because they got to be looking forward,
Yeah.
because they do have a bright future. It's just
And,
not going to be this year.
and you know what? You could extend Eli Tolvanen, but yeah, Alexiak most likely. Schwartz and Eberle for sure should both get moved. There's quite a bit of value there. I get it. Eberle's the captain, and Schwartz has an
But
A on his jersey. But
hell, they gave Giordano the C, and they traded him year one.
yeah,
So their
well,
first captain didn't even play.
that's a little bit different because it was straight from expansion. I feel like, but
But you didn't need to give him anyone the C in the first year.
no, but it's fun to
I
have a
mean, Gio
captain.
made sense, but no, but that's it, because people are like, well, you can't trade Eberle. You got the C not too long ago, but it's like, well, you can. They've done it in much shorter times before in their
Yeah.
couple of years. Like,
Um,
basically, I'm just saying,
Eberle
just
does
because
have a
Eberle
full
has the
no
C, he's
trade
not.
as well. I
He would wait
imagine
to go to a contender.
I was gonna say if you're retaining half and sending him at less than 2.5 mil to Colorado, like you're telling me he's gonna block that trade and say no, I'm gonna stay here and let my contract expire. Why? Why would he do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I imagine that would be pretty easy to get around.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he'll waive to go at some point, I think. And again, I think it makes sense for both sides. They got great value out of him. He's been nothing but, great for them, and he's loved his time there. But again, yeah, he's not getting any younger. He wants to win a cup, and it makes sense for Seattle too. It just makes sense for both sides. So I don't know why either side would be opposed to it at the end of the day. And that goes
yeah,
for, again, for guys like Jaden Schwartz and so on.
yeah. Yeah, it feels like there's not a ton to talk about with this team just because
They're just
it
still
feels
on the
it
up and
feels
up.
written in
Kind
stone
of.
that they're going to be anywhere from lower mid to really bad,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of
It comes
the
down to
position they're into. It could it could be different. Like if Shane Wright goes out there and is a 60 to 70 point guy and Matty Beniers
I
is
was gonna
a
say
65 70 point guy, like I mean that turns this franchise around right quick, and that
the
helps a
team this
lot.
year goes as far as their young guys can take them, basically.
Yeah. Beniers, Wright, and Kako are the future there right now. They're the ones that are in the NHL, and yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they do all have seasons like that. Beniers is the only one who didn't look really good, honestly, by the end of the season.
Good defensively, but a guy that you were hoping to be your first line center, yeah, you weren't really getting the offensive production out of him.
Yeah,
Like if Beniers ends up being uh, a 55-ish second line center who's great defensively, you might just have to be like, okay, we'll take it. Those are hard to come by. It's
yeah,
not great value out of a second overall pick, but it's better than drafting a total bust, at least.
yeah. You could have had
Like at
Yakupov,
least
right?
it's something. Yeah.
And
And if Shane
you know
Wright
what?
ends up being your first
He's
line center of the
22.
future and putting up 90 points, well, you got him fourth overall, and he fell to your lap when a lot of people thought he should go first overall. So you kind of lucked out there.
Until day of, I thought
There's-
he was going first for sure. So
Especially with Montreal picking first.
yeah, and
That could have been Montreal's second line center of the future.
it could have been. And
Could
they
have been.
kind of have a little bit of a logjam on the wing, as we talked about in our Atlantic Division preview. So maybe they'll live to regret it a little bit. But I think they're happy with Slavkovsky for now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
last season, though, yeah, over the past 3 years, 8 games in 2 seasons in a row for Shane Wright with the Kraken. with 2 points and then 5 points in 8 games 2 seasons ago. And then last year, played almost an entire season, 79 games, 19 goals, 44 points.
Yeah.
That's
He was starting to
that's
get it
that's
going.
over a half a point per game. He's 21 years old and he's already doing that. Like
My
it
only
feels like I've been waiting
potential
for this guy to break out longer than I really have. I can't believe he's still only 21.
my only potential worry with Shane Wright is he was in the AHL for a bit and he was with Dan Balsma. His first year in the NHL, he came up and Dan Balsma came up with him as the head coach. And now Dan Balsma's gone. And it's a new coach coming in, new system, all this. And I hope it doesn't affect Shane Wright too much. I hope if it's even better for him. But I am a bit worried because again, in terms of at the professional NHL level, Dan Balsma's what he's known and what has helped him in his development, and that's what's got him to where he was last year. So I hope
True.
that doesn't affect him too much. But again, that's why I was banging that drum all off season long, and I'll continue to, that the coaching change made no sense for Seattle.
It did not.
Made absolutely none.
Yeah. Shane Wright
Hey, if Shane
also
Lambert proves me wrong, okay. I'll own it then.
Shane Wright +4 last season on a not very good Kraken team in those 79 games. It's got to be
Pretty good.
I don't know if that's the top of the team, but it's got to be up there.
It's not. It's something. It's decent. Overall though, I don't have much more to add on to the Seattle Kraken here. In terms of individual awards, it doesn't really look like any of their young prospects are going to be making the team out of camp, at least as of right now. Definitely could change, but in terms of awards, unfortunately, I got nothing for him this go round.
No, maybe someday with Vince Dunn, maybe, but definitely not this next season.
Yeah,
I'm just not seeing it.
And lastly, to wrap up the Pacific Division here, the San Jose Sharks finished 8th in the division once again, 52 points. Brutal year. If you've been following along, you know where this is going. The San Jose Sharks in 3, 2, 1, 7.
8. Yeah.
I probably should have had him at 8, but I have to stand on my business with Seattle.
No, and I love it. I love that.
San Jose Sharks, I mean, the worst team in the NHL the last 2 years. Obviously wanting to improve at least in some way. I definitely think the roster that they're going to have this year is better than what they've had the last 2 years. So I don't know how much of an improvement they're going to have, but it's going to be better than 52 points at least. I think that's safe to say.
I definitely think
if it's not, then there's a real
improvement. Yeah,
it better be.
You know what? This team is a little more filled out than I thought. I kind of forgot quite a few of these names. They brought in Orlov, they brought in Klingberg. Alex Wenberg's still there. They got Jeff Skinner, Kurashev, like Dellandria. Like it's not the entire depth chart of guys I've never heard of. Like it's been the last 2 years, really, where the entire third and fourth line and the bottom pair are like I've heard of none of these guys. They're all AHL, so they're
starting to
definitely
actually feel the proper NHL team again.
Yeah, and they're going to bring in Michael Misa. He's signed his ELC, so he's going to be playing with the team. And they're bringing in Sam Dickinson, I believe. Did he sign his ELC?
Yeah, Dickinson's was signed already last year.
Okay.
And again, it just makes no sense for either one of those two guys to go back to juniors. Again, Dickinson was I think he won top defenseman in the OHL. He was breaking Evan Bouchard's records that he had with the London Knights. Michael Misa was just torching everybody in the league there. It does no good for either one of them to go back and dominate a league that they've already done before. So expecting those two guys to be there again, that's just more good young talent to, continue to get better. Because again, that is part of your core. Bit of a logjam on defense. Your forwards are pretty okay with where you're at. Again, like it's not great, but again, they're not expecting a massive jump. It is you probably still need, you're kind of the thing with Anaheim right now, where Anaheim's maybe a bit ahead, but you just want to get better. You want to at least see improvement. You want to get up to at least 60 points next year. Probably even more because 52
probably
last
65.
year is pretty bad. Like that's pretty awful. Yeah, it's definitely a much better team than where they were at.
Yeah. See a bit of improvement. Not too much to bring you out of the bottom. You get one more year of a real good, real solid first round pick. You have two with the Oilers as well, top 12 protected, but that Sharks pick that could be anywhere in the top 10. I could see that being all the way up at 7 or 8 if they really put it together. I could see it being number 1 again. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, the Leafs jumped the gun with the whole newspaper or magazine cover that said plan the parade, but I mean, fuck, if they get first overall pick and draft Gavin McKenna, plan the parade. So,
and it's really one of those things where, kind of similar to this past year, where if San Jose finishes dead last, but they lose a draft lottery move back to 2, that's honestly, I mean, yeah, it sucks you're not getting Gavin McKenna, obviously, but you still
getting
can
such a good player.
Still be very happy in the fact of being like, we're getting an elite right-handed defenseman at number 2. And that's the one thing that they do need going forward.
Yeah.
So again, if you miss on Gavin McKenna, yeah, it does suck. But at the same time, you're filling the exact need that you need the most out of everything. On your team.
If they didn't have a draft pick for the next 3 years, I think in 3 years they'd still be a really good team. Like they already have all the pieces. Whoever they pick this year is just gravy on top. Like it's just like, I'm not saying they can't be a huge part of the future or anything, but it just
adds on to what is already a good crop. Yeah,
an incredible prospect pool. Does Mike Greer hate 3rd and 5th round picks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this. The Sharks have all of their firsts, seconds, and fourths for the next 3 years. They've spent all 3 of their 3rd rounders for the next 3 years and all 3 of their 5th rounders for the next 3 years.
Yeah. Well, 2 of the thirds, that
they
was
just don't find good guys in that range.
The hurdle deal. Because he attached 2 thirds in on that. And then, the 5ths, he just kind of throws them in here and there of like, fuck it.
Yeah. I love seeing GMs with those weird quirks. It's like how Brisebois just keeps collecting 7th rounders.
7th rounders.
Like I think last year we picked 5 times in the 7th round and like once or twice outside of the 7th round beyond that. Like we had like a 3rd and that was it.
In terms of the forward core, I mean they're in a good spot right there. Apparently they've kind of confirmed that Will Smith's going to be moving to the wing, which I think is kind of going to be where he's going to play his career in San Jose now that you have Michael Misa.
I was going to say, with Michael Misa, there's no reason not to.
Will Smith just was a much better player overall last year on the wing. So, Jeff Skinner, going to be fine. Probably going to be flipped at the deadline. Kurashev is a bit younger, fits the timeline a little bit. Could be a decent piece going forward for them. But it is the blue line. It is the defense. We were talking a bit about it before we started recording here. But it's a logjam back there, right? I've said Sam Dickinson is going to make the team or should make the team. You now have Dmitry Orlov then, Nick Leddy, John Klingberg, Mario Ferraro, Timothy Liljegren, Vinny Desharnais, Shakir Mukhamadoulin, Jack Thompson, and then Dickinson. That's 9.
Wow, they picked up a lot of dudes, huh?
Like I was okay with the Orlov and the Klingbergs. It's like, okay, that's fine. You add a right-hand and left-hand defense, and they can both play in the top 4. Awesome. But then you grab Nick Leddy off waivers. I was like, good player, love the dude, but you don't need him because you re-sign Mukhamadoulin. That's your guy you want going forward. Jack Thompson's look great. You want to make room for Sam Dickinson. You just have so many defensemen now. It's I don't know how they go about it.
They're moving at least one of them before the start of the season, right?
Surely, I think you have to, right? Yeah. You have to.
Did you
And
even
then even
mention Vinny
then,
Desharnais? Like they got
yeah.
him as well. Like there's
So
there's
like you
so many
move
of these guys.
one, and then you still have to probably send one down to the AHL, assuming you're going to be carrying an extra forward, and that extra forward's probably going to be a Ryan Reeves because he's there. So that's an interesting thing there to keep an eye on. That you know a defenseman probably is going to have to get moved out. I don't know who, because outside of Dmitry Orlov, every defenseman I listed aside from Dickinson is their contracts expiring at the end of the year. So
Yeah.
no lengthy deals on any of those defensemen.
Which almost helps because that means, I believe San Jose has one retention slot available.
They do have one now. Yeah.
So, you retain, who do you think you could get the most back for? If you want to move Ferraro, it's probably him. But if not,
Yeah.
it's got to be Lil Jagrin or Klingberg, I would assume. Klingberg has a full no trade, but it's the Sharks. If you're trading to a contender for the 1 year,
and
it's just so he doesn't get reflipped, basically, I think is the assurance.
And the retention spot, that's going to be used down the road around the deadline when you're moving a Klingberg, potentially a Skinner, whoever.
So,
and a big thing with the Sharks is, you don't have Georgiev back there, who was kind of the tank commander for them last year. You mentioned it before. They have Askarov there. They brought in Nedeljkovic, which I thought was a nice sneaky pickup for a backup there or in a tandem. Their goaltending is going to be much better.
You think Nedeljkovic makes the tandem?
Great, but
you think he's beaten out Carey Price?
The ghost of Carey Price? Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
The contract of Carey Price.
I forgot his contract's on the books there. But overall, yeah, again, I think Sharks are going to be much better, but they are still a ways away, and yeah, they are banking on at least probably one more high draft pick, and just continue to let your young guys get better, improve, develop, and you see what you can get more out of Eklund, Celebrini, Smith this year, especially.
Yeah. Man, if I was an NHL GM, I would be so annoying about if I'm Mike Grier, I would be like, teams that I don't do trades often with, I would just like randomly hit them up, and I would be like, "Hey, looks like you could use a better goalie. You want heart-winning Carey Price?" And they're like, "Dude, hang up the phone." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What if I retained on it though? What if I retained half and you sent me a first because he's a really good goalie?" I would be the most obnoxious GM in the world.
Because I heard rumors that he might come back, so you might want to get him before he announces it, and then someone else picks him up. Yeah,
no cast or anything.
Squeeze some value.
I think I saw him stretching the other day.
But overall, again, not much to say. Kind of similar to all the other bottom teams. Awards. I think there's, I think, the only thing you can talk about with the Sharks is the Calder. And I think if Misa plays a full season, he could be in there. Dickinson is a very, very long shot, I think. But,
it's hard for defensemen.
Who knows? Because they're going to be looking for someone to run the offense from the back end, and it's wide open for Dickinson to take that role. Askarov, I think, is kind of potentially in that Dustin Wolf spot.
It kind of looks like Askarov should be eligible. So, yeah. I think.
But I think
it's Askarov kind of and Misa. Shot, but Misa would have to be in probably the top 6 relatively soon into the season, and probably be on one of those top power play units. But
I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming if Misa makes the team, he's probably your second line center. I mean, if you've already kind of come out and said
Smith is going to be
a wing, then it's kind of
going to be a wing.
What does that mean? Second line center.
Where does
they're
going
to move him to right wing? They're going to move him to right wing.
First or second line?
Long term, first line alongside Celebrini. This year, I don't know, because I don't,
Because the only 2 things that you can pencil in that are borderline certain is Celebrini first line center, Eklund first line left wing.
Yeah.
Do you think they want, obviously long term they want Smith on that first line right wing, but do you think they can put him up there yet, or do you think they want Toffoli there to help out with Celebrini in that?
Yeah, that's really kind of the thing, right? Because, Toffoli and Celebrini have had great chemistry. You kind of maybe want a veteran on that first line. But when you look at Will Smith's numbers and how good they were at the back half of the last season, it was when they moved him to wing alongside Celebrini. And the best part, with Misa as your second line center, you just have to wait for Igor Chernyshov to come into the NHL. And just go look at his numbers last year in the OHL. He only played, I think, a third of the season, but it was alongside Misa, and his numbers were ridiculous. Actually, I'll pull it up here so no one has to do homework.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what was interesting about getting Misa was you've got a guy that he just torched
the league with. And
yeah.
And if you got him coming up, and if Smith does get onto that first line, that means it's Chernyshov, Misa, and Toffoli. So now you've got two other young guys playing with Toffoli. So like you're still, using Toffoli to the best of his abilities in that way.
Igor Chernyshov, who most scouts had him projected to go 20th overall in the 2024 draft, going to go down as one of an all-time famous stories. Falls to the beginning of the second round because he had a sunburn at the combine. So he fell in the draft. Teams are scared of him because he got a sunburn. It's pretty wild.
That's not the first time I've heard that story. You know who else got dropped down in their draft year because of a sunburn? Vasilevsky.
Russian players and sunburns, man.
He got a sunburn a day before a bunch of the draft interviews, and when the Ottawa Senators heard that he got a sunburn the day before the combine, they were like, "This guy's not taking this shit seriously," and they didn't even interview him. And they didn't even interview Vasilevsky. I bet they feel like schmucks now.
Igor Chernyshov last year with Saginaw only played 23 games, but 19 goals, 36 assists for 55 points. So him and Misa have good chemistry, and that'll continue. Probably not this year, but down the road, yeah.
At some point.
Really, probably the only reward for San Jose is Misa for Calder. Dickinson is a very, very, very long shot, and Askarov potentially could be like a Dustin Wolf, but I doubt the wins will be there, so probably not.
Right. Yeah.
But that does wrap up the Pacific Division here, and that does wrap up our full divisional previews. We will have one more episode, I think, where we throw out all final predictions in terms of awards. We'll lock down final predictions and all that fun stuff. So look for that next week as Saturday. Preseason games get underway, which means we are on the road to the regular season. It is not far away, but that is it for this episode. If you want to talk hockey, let us know your thoughts on everything that we've discussed through any of these divisional previews. You can do so through any of our socials. They are all down below. You know where they are. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts? Since we were just talking about it, I will throw one more award in there. I'm going to throw Macklin Celebrini in there for the Selke. I'm looking at numbers.
I wouldn't hate it. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't hate it.
Genuinely, I'm looking at numbers. So last year, Barkov had 71 points, only 20 goals. Nico Hischier had 35 goals, but only 69 points.
Damn, he had 35 Ducks.
69 and 71 points, and those are the two like big front runners for it, really, right? Like,
yeah,
Celebrini could very potential. We're kind of expecting more points than that, and he's already seems really good defensively. The Selke is an award that does often take a bit of time building up a reputation first, but people already seem to know how good he is on that side of the puck, and if he has a really good year, maybe he hits 80. It could happen.
Well, I mean, the big thing is there's a lot of talk about Celebrini potentially for Team Canada for the Olympics. And it's not even because of his offensive game. It's because of how good his defensive game is.
He's responsible.
Is what would be is what would give him the edge over a lot of guys to make the team. So it's a long shot, but hey, you know what? I love it. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah,
I'd be on board. But that is it for this episode. One final time. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we'll see all of you out on the ice next week.